The Brothers Karamazov, Book 3, Chapter 2. Now, we saw in Chapter 1 that the main theme was the household of Fyodor, the literal household of Fyodor. His house was full of rats, and only recently his son Ivan had come to live with him. Prior to that, mostly just Fyodor alone, scared, insecure, cold, mad, mystical, superstitious, fearful, childlike in a bad way, alone in his house. Out back in the servants' quarters, Gregory, his wife Marfa, and the boy Smerdyakov. And that's who we're going to see today. So we get the story of Smerdyakov. And so first we learn that there is a woman in the town, and her name is Lizaveta. And this Lise is a simple woman, someone who is likely mentally handicapped. She's dumb. She is a fool. She is unkempt. She is barefoot and only wears a hemp material smock even in the wintertime. She'll only eat dry bread and water. If anyone gives her anything, she just gives it right away. If anyone tries to clothe her or help her or bathe her, she just simply passes the material good on. And so because the town is a Christian town, they all feel it is their duty to care for her. She seems harmless. Even people who are a little bit cruel, like young adolescent boys, treat her well. Everyone doesn't mind her sleeping in their barn or their door entryway. Everyone cares for her. She is likable. She is an innocent person. Now, this is a callback to Eastern Orthodox tradition, where they have a theological concept called the Holy Fool. And there have been 36 saints canonized in Eastern Orthodox tradition for being a holy fool. The idea, the biblical or theological idea behind this holy fool is that there are wise teachers of the faith and that are helpers to people, and in their wisdom, part of their wisdom is that they don't want acclaim or applause. They don't want to be flattered or glorified. Only Christ is to be glorified. And so in order to be true spiritual helpers, true spiritual teachers, but not get any acclaim or applause, they act as a fool. So there's one man from Syria, and he just left town and went out in the desert for decades to pray. And he comes back and he eats a sausage on Good Friday, and during services he throws nuts at the priest, and he dresses like a crazy person, and he is canonized for being a holy fool. Another guy goes through Moscow naked with just a long beard, and he throws rocks at all the rich people's houses. And so these are real, actual historical stories. Tolstoy has some short stories where his characters are holy fools, and the idea is that whether the person, it's a put-on, or maybe even more in fiction, it's not a put-on, the person is actually a fool. The result is the same, whether you're pretending to be a fool for Christ's sake, or you actually are a fool. The point is that you are a holy innocent, a holy fool, that you are a pure person, and you are to be revered and respected for that. So that's the background, and that helps you see the sheer horror of what happens in this story, which is there's this cared for, beloved holy fool, stinking Lizaveta, and she or rather 5 or 6 young men come across her, and as drunk young men are wont to do, unfortunately, they try to make themselves look and feel better by making fun of her and talking about who would treat her as a woman romantically or sexually. And Fyodor, because he is such an insecure, bad person, well, he says, I would. And he says later in the novel to Alyosha that he's never thought any woman ugly. and he it says without saying that he could have relations with this woman. Well, after that night, Lizaveta, this holy fool, is found to be pregnant, and really of the drunken revelers, of the young men this evening, it really only makes sense that Fyodor took advantage of her, and probably not possible to have a consensual sexual relationship with a mentally challenged person. What I think we're left with is Fyodor did something close to assaulting and or raping Lizaveta. So she is now pregnant, and the town is rightfully and justifiably horrified, saying, who could this be? So Lizaveta has the baby at Fyodor's house, and so that is significant because this simple woman is no doubt indicating through scaling a wall pregnant, and the narrator even questions if that is humanly possible. Can a simple woman who is described as a dwarf, because she might possibly be 5 foot tall, in labor, full-term pregnancy, could she really scale a wall to have the baby at Fyodor's house? And so she is probably indicating by that almost miraculous, almost supernatural action of scaling the wall, she's indicating probably that the baby is indeed Fyodor. And so Fyodor has committed one more heinous offense, which is he has defiled a holy innocent. Now, there's a great writer named Marcel Proust, and Proust actually thinks that this episode is the key to the entire novel. Now, I think he's pretty much alone in thinking that, but I just mentioned that to show that this is not the insignificant chapter that it might seem. Why? Because we saw that in the very first line of this novel, we know that Fyodor will die and that his death will be a tragedy. And in Orthodox tradition, nothing can really be worse than someone defiling a holy innocent. And so, spoiler alert, what will have to happen if a holy innocent is defiled? Well, we already know that Fyodor will die. But in theology and in Christianity, what is the central message of the gospel? Well, in the Old Testament, a pure, spotless, sacrificial lamb must die in order to expiate, to take away the guilt of someone who has defiled innocence, someone who has made unclean what is pure and spotless. In the New Testament, we have the Lamb of God, who is the holy innocent, who takes the place of those who have defiled the holy innocent. And so that is the necessary understanding that a holy innocent has been defiled, and the defiler, no doubt Fyodor, or little doubt Fyodor, he must be atoned for. He must be expiated for. That is, I think, the main point of Chapter 2 of Book 3, but really remember going forward what is said, that Lizaveta had to scale the wall in order to have Smerdyakov there. And then finally, Smerdyakov's name is important. Pavel is a Russianization of our English word Paul. The town quickly calls him Paul Fyodorovich, which means Fyodor is his father, so the town all collectively believes that he is the defiler. The narrator says that Fyodor never goes out of his way to deny it. So you have Pavel, Paul, Fyodorovich, son of Fyodor, and finally, Fyodor gives him the name Smerdyakov, and we said in some prior video that to look out for which of the characters' names are used, their formal or their warm familial name. Well, this is another thing to look out for. What does Smerdyakov's name mean? Smelly, stinky. And so Fyodor is just referring to his mother, the holy innocent, who was stinking Lizaveta, and now he's calling this bastard smelly. And so I guess the only thing worse than defiling a holy innocent is defiling a holy innocent without remorse and naming the bastard child stinking.